Hello, profilers! It's time for our weekly rendezvous.
The podcast where we share with you true cases of French crimes.
So, today, what is the story?
This case is one that outraged the French public. A case with strange evidence, unaccounted for witness testimonies, and most importantly, a confession that leaves us with more questions than answers. Today's case is the red sweater.
Enjoy the story.
June 3rd, 1974. Whit Monday, under a beautiful sun in the south of France, two children are playing in the project's neighborhood of Saint Agnes in Marseille when a man approaches them and asks them if they have seen his little black dog. He asks the children to help him find his dog. Maria Dolores, a young 8-year-old girl, accompanies the stranger while her little brother goes to search in the opposite direction. After a few minutes of searching, when the little boy returned to the rendezvous spot, he saw neither his sister nor the young man. Frightened, he rushes to his apartment where he tells the whole story to his father. Pierre, the boy's father, doesn't really understand what's going on. The child describes the scene to his father, terrified. From that very moment, his father immediately went to the police station to report his daughter's disappearance. The police take this kidnapping very seriously. A missing persons notice and a call for witnesses were launched both in the newspapers and on television. They were looking for a tall, young, dark-haired man wearing a gray suit. No one has seen anything in the neighborhood. No one can give the description of the abductor. The little boy, the brother of Maria Dolores, Jean-Baptiste Rambla, is questioned by the police to try to understand what happened. He explains that he spotted the car of the kidnapper. He explains that it's a gray car. He does not know all the different makes of cars. He sees a car of one of the policemen on site, and he exclaims, "It's the same car as that one." This car is a Simca. The next day, the first witness arrives at the police station. His name is Eugene Spinelli, an auto body mechanic and a neighbor living not too far from the place of the kidnapping. He will confirm the small boy's version of events, notably the description of the suspect, since he saw the little girl getting in the vehicle of this unknown man and also speaks about a gray Simca. He will even give the exact model of the car. It is a Simca 1100. But this testimony will pose a problem. Spinelli would come back on his statement a few days later, explaining that he was perhaps mistaken on the model of the car, because his garage was rather far from the place where the children played. But for the moment, the police are hanging on to this testimony. No one knows what's going on or where to look. On Wednesday, June 5th, after several calls for witnesses, one man, Vincent Martinez, and a couple, Alan and Eileen Aubert, would tell a rather disturbing story. 2 days before, on June 3rd, 1974, shortly after the disappearance of the little girl, the witnesses say that a driver of a Peugeot 304 ran a stop sign and hit a car that was coming on his right. This accident occurred 45 minutes after the abduction of Maria Dolores, 25 kilometers from Marseille. Panic-stricken, the driver turned around and left in the opposite direction. Vincent Martinez, the victim of the accident, gives an account. The car spun around and he found himself in the opposite direction of the direction he came from. I was immobilized in the middle of the road. In the time it took me to unbuckle my seatbelt and get out, the driver had run off and turned around several times to look at me. Alan and Eileen Aubert were also present at the time of the accident. They even went so far as to pursue the suspect. 1 kilometer away, they see the car parked in the middle of the road. Next, they see a young man getting out of the car, then running away with a large package. 100 meters further, they turn around and come back to the car stopped on the side of the road. But this time, no one is around. The man has disappeared. The couple then took down the car's registration number and reported it to the driver of the accident so that he could file a complaint at the police station. But the Aubert couple would change their statement later, claiming that it was not a package, but a child. With that, and the license plate, the police launched a search for the owner of the car. It was a young 19-year-old salesman, Christian Ranucci. The Aubert couple, but especially Vincent Martinez, the driver who hit Ranucci in the accident, realized that they might have seen the kidnapper of Maria Dolores. Vincent says, "In the local newspaper, I read the article about this kidnapping. And as I was reading, I had the impression that I had stumbled onto something important. First, the time between the abduction and my accident. I know the area well. This road goes out of the districts of Marseille towards Nice," explained Mr. Martinez. The police have a lead. The Aubert couple gave the exact location where they saw Ranucci's car stopped. The examining magistrate orders the police to go on site and search the place. They think the girl may still be alive. At 3:20 p.m., in the mushroom farm where Ranucci had stopped to repair his car, a red sweater was discovered. They don't know what it's doing here or who it belongs to. But at 3:45 p.m., just 25 minutes later, the body of a young girl is found, lifeless. It is indeed that of Maria Dolores. Her body presents a state of decomposition. There's a contusion of the cranial vault with 4 localized depressions. The body also presents 15 wounds by a sharp-bladed weapon, a knife. A wound to the carotid artery is the cause of her immediate death. Ranucci would later explain that after the couple left, he got back in his car and drove a few meters down a dirt road and eventually found a mushroom farm. He parked his car there and tried to straighten out the damaged bodywork from the accident. When he tried to drive away, he realized that he was stuck in the mud and could not move forward. So he asked the owner of the mushroom farm to help him pull the car out with his tractor. Once he left, he immediately went back home to his mother in Nice. The man was arrested in Nice a few days later. According to journalists, when he arrived in Marseille with the police, he was described as a shy and rather charming young man, not at all a monster. But Christian Ranucci had a tormented family past. He was born on April 6, 1954. At the age of 4, he saw his father Jean stab his mother with a knife, a switchblade, a model similar to the one that would kill Maria Dolores. After his parents' divorce, he moved around from city to city: Belgium, Toulon, Paris, Grenoble, Nice. 17 moves, and always the fear that his violent father would find him and his mother. Heloise Maton, Christian Ranucci's mother, eventually bought a bar in Nice, but with what money? This remains a mystery. When Heloise goes away to Paris for a few days, Christian Ranucci takes care of the bar. The neighbors describe him as being left to his own devices, arrogant and disrespectful. On the other hand, his lawyer remembers him as a rather ordinary boy.
A young kid, switching in conversations from military service to his car, which ran better than the others, or you see, very basic things. I'd take a risk to tell you that, at least in the reports that we had. Not only was he not unpleasant, but he was rather nice.
He admits to the investigators that he did indeed have an accident while running a stop sign, and that he fled and hid in the bushes. However, Christian Ranucci asserts that he did not kill nor kidnap the young girl, Maria Dolores. But for the police, Ranucci is an ideal culprit. The investigators then organize a police lineup. They bring in Maria Dolores' brother, as well as some witnesses to the scene. Christian Ranucci is placed in the middle of other men in order to proceed with the identification. But there's a problem. Not one witness recognizes Christian Ranucci. The investigation would take yet another turn, this time when Ranucci is confronted with the Aubert couple. Upon seeing him, Eileen Aubert runs towards him, grabbing him by the shoulders and shouting at him, "But it's you! It's you that I saw getting out of the car! It's you that I saw with a little girl! Stop lying!" At that moment, Ranucci caves, and all this resistance going on over 30 hours in police custody. He drops his head, his shoulders, and admits in a small voice, "Yes, it's me. I didn't want to kill her. I'm not a bastard." "I prefer to clear my conscience," Ranucci admits, and proceeds to tell the bizarre and tragic story.
I prefer to clear my conscience and tell you everything that happened. Indeed, I'm not a bastard, and I hardly realize how I could have reacted in the following way. I spent Sunday night to Monday in my car. I had parked my car on the country road, located not far from Salem, in the Var. I woke up quite late. I got behind the wheel of my car and headed towards Aix-en-Provence, taking small roads. I can't give you any details about the time because my watch is being repaired, and the one on the dashboard of my car isn't working anymore. I went towards Marseille, and I thought I would meet a comrade from the army who lives on Avenue Alphonse Daudet, at house number 51. Without knowing much about Marseille, I parked my car and I thought I would go for a walk. At one moment, I noticed two young children playing in front of the project. I don't remember exactly where. I can only tell you that this street was quite narrow and that there weren't many trees. After watching the kids for a few minutes, I approached them. I parked my car 10 meters away from where the children were playing. There was a little boy, I'd say 5 or 6 years old, who had short hair. There was also a little girl who looked a little older, maybe 7 or 8. She was dressed in light-colored clothes, a sweater and capri pants. I approached these children and asked them if they had seen an animal. I don't remember the exact words very well. I think it was a dog or a cat. The little boy went off on his own to look for the animal. I stayed behind with the girl. My memory is coming back to me, and I am able to draw you a map of the place. I'll do it. As you can see on the map, which I have just drawn for you with my own hand, the children were playing on the sidewalk that ran along a sloping street, in front of a building on the left at the bottom of the street. The children were on the sidewalk in front of the building. At this point, the street forms a slight bend.
Ranucci continues his strange story, sometimes giving a lot of details, sometimes withholding.
The little boy went up the street to look for the animal. So I talked with the little girl for a few moments and she got into my car without difficulty. To clarify, when the little boy went to look for the animal, all three of us were around my car and on the same sidewalk. When we were alone, the girl and I offered for her to get in the car to go for a walk. I made this offer twice, because the first time she hesitated. Finally, she accepted. I got in the car first. I folded down the front seat and the little girl took a seat in the back. I should point out that the driver's side door of my car was blocked, which forced me to get in through the passenger side. I'm mistaken. The door was not blocked at that time. I got in through the left side. It was only after the accident that the left door was blocked. I had parked my car in the back, facing the building. I drove away from the center of town. After crossing the suburbs, I took a road at the bend that went up. After driving for about 10 kilometers or so, I stopped the car at a spot on the right side of the road. The space didn't seem very large to me. I also remember driving through a small town. When we stopped, the little girl got out of the car and sat on the side of the road. I lit a cigarette and we talked. During the drive, we talked. I asked her various questions about the conditions of her life. When she saw that we were heading away from home, she said that it was time for lunch. I reassured her that I would take her home. We only stopped a few minutes at that place. When we left, the little girl got in the front seat and she's the one who asked to do so. From that moment on, we must have driven another 10 kilometers. At some point, I arrived at a stop sign, and the road came out on another larger public road. And that's the spot where the accident happened. I started in second gear without seeing the vehicle approaching on my left. I was hit in the left door. I felt my vehicle had swerved. I'm not sure in which direction I went. I smelled a strong burning smell, and I knew I couldn't drive very long in those conditions. The tire rubbing against the fender was making a hell of a noise. I was in a panic and didn't realize that someone was following me. I ran away for two reasons. First, because it looked like I had run the stop sign, and second, because of the presence of the girl in the car. I drove a few hundred meters and then I stopped. I parked my car on the side of the road, my door blocked because of the accident. I opened my passenger side door. I let the little girl out and I followed her. I don't remember the little girl being afraid of the consequences of the accident. She did not express to me any desire to return home. The little girl jumped over the ditch. I also jumped over that ditch, took the little girl's hand. We traveled a short distance and ended up on top of the embankment. I should tell you that I had to help the little girl up the embankment. I had to pull her by the hand.
The police officer then asks, "Why did you pull her by the hand?"
To help her up the embankment. The girl did not show any sign of worry, I assure it. When we arrived on the embankment, the child started to scream. She didn't want to follow me anymore. She must have been frightened because of the accident. I prevented her from screaming by squeezing her neck with my left hand. The child was struggling. I'll specify that everything is confused in my memory because everything happened very quickly. I took an automatic knife that was in my pants. I opened this knife by pressing the button and I hit the girl several times. From that instant, I didn't see anything else. I don't know what I was doing. I don't remember what I did with the body. I do not know if I dragged her on the ground. I do remember, however, that I tore off some branches. More precisely, some thorn bushes with which I covered the body. I still have traces of pricks and cuts on these hands from the thorns and I'll show them to you. I returned to the road after having put the knife back in my pocket, if my memory is correct. I got back behind the wheel of my car, and after a drive, I entered the path that gives access to the tunnel. Along this path, there is a kind of place where peat moss is spread out. It is at this place that I got rid of the knife. I threw it on the ground and I kicked it away. I've already explained that in my previous statement, how I got out of the mushroom farm.
The police officer asks about the red sweater.
You present me with a red-colored sweater that was seized by the military police. This garment is not my property. I have never seen it. I can confirm to you that I did not rape this child, nor did I carry out any indecent touching.
The officer asks, "Why did you take the girl?"
I don't know. I wanted to take her for a walk.
The policeman then says, "Why didn't you bring her back before, when she asked?"
I was going to do it. Everything got confused in my mind starting from that accident. I am unable to tell you any more about it.
He gives a precise, complete, and detailed confession. He admits to everything. He even indicates the exact place where he took Maria Dolores. He also indicates precisely where he hid the murder weapon.
The first question that I asked him, the one that came to my mind, was to say, well, let's agree it was indeed you who killed that child. And he had this response that has stayed in my mind for 30 years. He says, inevitably. I say to him, inevitably. What's that supposed to mean, inevitably? That is to say, it sounded like a reservation, not like an assertion. And he says to me, the witnesses recognized me, so it's inevitably me who killed her. So I say, okay, you. What do you say? Did you kill her or not? And he tells me, I'm telling you I killed her because they proved it to me, and some witnesses have recognized me.
Unsettling questions that would cast a shadow of doubt on Ranucci's guilt. For the police, there was no question. Ranucci is guilty, and he is sentenced to death. The guillotine was waiting.
Thank you for watching this video.
We are excited to share these stories with you and to honor the memory of the victims worldwide.
If you enjoyed this story,
you can help us out by liking the video, subscribing to our channel, and punching the notification bell.
Very important. Don't forget to give us your opinions in the comments.
Thank you guys again. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Au revoir.
Au revoir.